Hello everyone. I have been asked to record a tutorial on how I can use zsanimator, so I'm going to do that right now. This video is unedited and unscripted, so any errors that occur, I'm sorry about that. But I will explain the basics of how to use zsanimator. This is not an in-depth tutorial on how to use zscript or on how to use Blender. This is a tutorial on how to use zscript animator specifically for the express purpose of making a simple animation. So with that in mind, let's get started. So in the repository, you will find a Blender file that has the basic necessity of, this example Blender file contains this, as you see, as it is. So it has set up a couple of bones that I've named with the armature. So this is the armature right here. It has a couple of bones already. This should not be like this. Well, it doesn't really matter what rotation is in, as long as this is set to 0. All right, so you have here the player view, which is a special name. All right, so from the beginning, you have the armature names. They are related to the bone. Like if you have a named bone, the bone name relates to the P sprite layer that will be used. So if I have a bone named -2, it will use this integer value to create a new overlay that uses -2. This one is a default name that is used by zscript. It's psp._weapon, and you have -3. Now you also have this bone to which everything is parented, as you can see. This one is also a special name because this one relates specifically to the rotation of the camera that will be used by the player. So this is what you need to keep in mind. You have these names and they correlate to the layer that you will use in zscript. You can omit certain bones from being exported to zscript by specifying an underscore in front of the name. So if you type underscore or exclamation point psp_weapon, the information of this bone will not be exported to zscript. Then you have here the okay, so this sprite is specifically for the purpose of showing you how your sprite's going to look in gzdoom. I tried to most accurately represent how things will look in gzdoom in this Blender file, but do keep in mind that it is not one-to-one like 100% accurate. It is mostly accurate, but it is not 100% accurate. So how do you get started? Well, I have set up here the camera. This frame shows, or this where is it? It's here. This 4 to 3 guide will show you where the sprite offsets will be shown mostly accurately. So if you place it here, and you can see that the under barrier here of the frame that you can see, this is where it gets cut off in gzdoom. So it's mostly accurate. Okay, so then you have the weapon sprite. As you can see somewhere, I'm not quite certain where it is. I think it's under relations. Yes, here it is. Okay, so the weapon sprite is like, this is the main weapon sprite. This one is parented to psp_weapon. Keep in mind that it is recommended that you have only one sprite per layer. So if you want another sprite, you can create a new image I will show you how to do that in a moment. And you can parent this to another layer. So in this case, I have the PSP underscore weapon. And the weapon sprite is parented to the bone. As you can see, nothing is parented to this right now. And if I unhide the magazine, as you can see here, that's the magazine. Hang on. We'll look at that in a moment. So you have these dimensions of these images. These are the dimensions that are used in gzdoom. So if you define in, for example, okay, yeah, sure. So if you define your sprites, what you see here is what you get. So in this case, for the Mark 23, I have this sprite, and the dimensions for this sprite are as they are used in the texture editor, for example. So if I go to my texture editor and look at my sprite, the dimensions here are 663 by 524. So I need to set the dimensions to 663 by 524. All right? So with that done, I'm going to go ahead and delete this because it's not necessary right now. So it is I personally recommend that the only thing that you do in zscript is or in the texture editor, because you can mostly omit the texture editor. The only thing that it is used for is making sure that the origin of the sprite, as you can see here, is centered on your image. In this case, my offsets are the size divided by 2, which is what you should be doing. Personally recommended. Alright, so I have these sprites now, as you can see. And again, they mostly correlate to how they appear in gzdoom. The scale is 1.0, and the scale on the y-axis is 1.2. This is because of the aspect ratio correction. Most of the time you can ignore this. Enough explaining how to actually set this up. So if you go down here to your geometry nodes thing. Okay, yeah, sure. On the main sprite, that is, because I have set this up on the main sprite so that if I change this value, then it will correlate to the material that is being displayed. You have to remember that you have to set this up precisely as you need it. Now, how do you do this exactly? Like, say I want to edit this image to represent my sprite. So if I go down to shading and expand this a little, because this is not needed right now, you can see here that you have these few things set up. Again, this is not exported to gzdoom, so this is for the purpose of showing to yourself in Blender how you can get the animations to line up with the sprites. Right? So remember, you have the geometry nodes property here, and as you can see, changing this property animates the sprite. So this is what I use for actually animating for myself the sprite in gzdoom for the animations match, or in Blender, I mean. Now, how have I set this up? You can go to Preferences, and what you want is the Node Wrangler add-on. I think this is included in Blender by default. If it isn't, you'll have to Google for this. Remember, the name is Node Wrangler. You want to enable this one, because this is what allows you to create an image sequence. And the image sequence is a node in the shading editor that is used to cycle through these images. Okay, so if we go to interface in these settings, or let me find it actually, I'm not quite certain where it was. Because there is a certain thing that we need to enable here. I think it's... Okay, well, it doesn't really matter right now, but there is an option here that you need to enable to allow you to change like to get the options from for the driver's example. Okay, so I'm going to import my images now for a new animation. So if I go down here, click on add, click on texture, go to image sequence. Again, if you don't see this, enable the Wrangler add-on. So you go down to image sequence. I have my sprites already here. So go down, redo, click on all of this. So these are the images that will be used for references. For reference, this is what mine look like. And then click import image sequence. So this is what you can get. Now again, it might be necessary to just copy. Okay, so here's the thing. You have this offset here, right? If I send it to this, if I drag it directly onto this, then the issue that we're going to get here is that this offset of the image sequence does not match with what you get. So if you were to import your images directly and change only this value, then you're never going to be able to see the sprite. So for example, if I do this now and change it to where is it, the hashtag.png, well, wait, no, it's because this. So, or does it show up? Okay, yeah, here we go. So it's not showing up. So if this happens, you need to import the image sequence, drag this node onto here, drag this node here, then go down to your offset property. In your offset property, click open drive edit drivers, or add drivers in this case. You set this to var ±1. And var is what is used. Like, again, I'm not going to explain in detail how to use Blender. I'm going to assume that you know enough of Blender already to do this kind of stuff. This is purely to give you an idea of what you can do to fix this issue, because I'm not quite certain how to do this automatically. So you go down to object, you go down to, I'm going to rename this, by the way, to Deagle. So you go down to the edit driver, you select the Deagle, and you copy this value, and then copy data path. So this is the setting that I was talking about earlier. You need to enable the developer options, if I remember correctly, to be able to get this, because this is normally hidden under that one option that I was looking for that I couldn't find. So you go back to your driver, you click on object, and you click next to your var input on this button right here. You set it to single property. Okay. So if this changes, go back here to Deagle, and then it's under path, copy what we just, or paste what we just copied. All right. So now if I change this, then you can see that it correlates to my offset value, and that's what we want. So if I change this, it should animate the sprite, but it's not doing it. Why is it not doing it? Okay, something is going on here. I need to figure this out. Hang on. Like I said, this is unscripted, unchanged, anything. So there are going to be some wonky stuff here that I need to figure out. Well, the name should line up properly. Well, the important. Oh, right. That's what I was forgetting. So there is a option here in the image sequence thingamajig that you need to enable, and that is cycling and auto refresh. Now you can see that it's changing the thing properly, right? Okay. Now that works. Now I'm going to go back to the animation tab. As you can see, the sprite is squashed and stretched. So I need to go back to Slate. Right now I'm going to enable or import my Deagle OO into Slate real quick. Drag that down here. Again, I'm going to assume that you have enough knowledge of gzdoom and Slate to at least do this. This is purely zscript or zsanimator, like general tutorial thingamabob. So this is already a huge video, by the way. So I need to divide my size by 2 and make that the offset. So that's 302. I'm not good at calculating stuff from my head. 266. Yeah, it looks about right. Does it? Yeah, I need to change this one. Okay, there we go. Save this. Export this. What I just did, you don't necessarily have to do. If you just save in Slate and work from Slate, that's fine. But I'm working using a make file, so I need to export that texture every time. So I go back to Slate and look at my sizes here, 603 and 531. And then I set the dimensions of the image to these sizes. And now you can see that the size lines up properly, okay? Now if I change this value, what happens then? All good. Everything is as it should be. Now, I'm going to select PSP weapon. Going to enable this option here, auto keying. So if I move stuff around, then it'll automatically create a keyframe where I want it. So I'm going to select 0. It's automatically animating for some reason. There is a reason for this. Let's look at this driver. Oh yeah, right, you need to set the frames count and start frame to 1 as well, otherwise this will happen. Okay, animation. Now we can properly animate this. So if you select your P-Sprite weapon, you can find it, there it is. And again, you need to, oh hang on. Oops, I forgot to reset the scale of this bone. This is fine. Look at the offsets again, or sizes. Yeah, I'm a klutz. I'm chaotic as hell. Sorry about that. Okay, so in the actions editor, we already have an action. That's fine. Just gonna push this down. I recommend using the NLA editor for this because it's pretty convenient. It's pretty good. I'm going to delete these actions again, assuming you have Blender knowledge prior. Now I'm going to resize the sprite, adjust it to where I want to be, move this to 0, and I'm also gonna use the location and scale on every bone that I have so that it automatically creates these keyframes. Now this is going to be the fire sequence. So up here, up top, you can set the name of the action. We're going to push that down. Use tab to change it. And create a new keyframe here. Now I'm just going to rudimentarily animate all of this stuff. So this is not a very detailed animation. If you can't find the bone, you can always go here. Okay, so this sprite needs to be different. So I'm going to press I on this value here on the geometry nodes modifier, push this down, change this, go back to 0, set this to linear, because otherwise, or constant, sorry, because otherwise it will keep animating this in between frames. So if I go here, set this to 10, as you can see, now it'll automatically do this. If you set it to linear, it'll animate the frames in between. We don't want that. So I'm going to go here, change this value to what I want, create a new keyframe here, set it to this, do it again, animate this. Another one here. And then 0 again. Okay, here we go. This is what I was talking about. This is why you need constant interpolation. Alright, so this about lines up with how I want in-game my animation to look like. Again, go to your weapon bone, go to the first frame. So now I want to move this. Again, this is not going to be a very detailed animation, so we're just going to do it rudimentarily. Of all these bones, I'm going to copy this base location or position and rotation. Animate the player view. Alright, so that's workable. Now I'm going to export it. Keep in mind that it is very crucial that you set your armature and all the bones that you need. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And what you're going to end up with is a animation that has either no frame data, or it'll just stop executing because an error occurred because it can't find all the data necessary. So again, set on your armature the thing to pose mode. And this is also important. Again, we need to make sure that the animation so this is over here up top. The action name, we got fire. This is the animation that's going to be used, or this is the name that's going to be used to export the animation. This does not matter. This is what's important. So if these two don't match, doesn't matter. What you were looking for is this one. You can also find it right here, up top in the Blender file, whatever thingamajig, and it's under action. So this is what you're looking for. So again, what's also important is that we set the length of the scene to the length of your animation that you're exporting. So if I say I'm only exporting 10 frames from the beginning of 5, you want to set this, but in this case, we're going to set it to this stuff. So select armature, go to export zscript animation. I have so this is in my Somewhere in Hell stuff. I'm going to name this Deagle Fire. And this is the animation name that you're going to be referencing in your zscript scripts. So I'm going to set this to Deagle Fire. Again, here's where action name comes in. Again, that's the thing that we saw up top here. You're going to set this, in this case, to fire, because that's what my animation is called. Okay, so for the most part, you can ignore this, but if you want to scale, let's say if you somehow accidentally set your metric system to meters or something, most of the time by default this will be set to centimeters, which is what you need to export properly to zscript. All right. But in some cases, it might be possible that this got changed somewhere down the line. So you got position scale, you got sprite scale. You can set this stuff to scale up or down, the sprites and the positions and stuff. Okay, so and another thing that we want to look for is link sprites. What this does, if you change the animation speed, if you change the animation speed in your animation, then link sprites will automatically change the duration of the frames to fit the animation, if that makes sense. I'll explain it to you in a moment. So I'm going to export this now. Again, gzdoom matrix comma someone hell zscript animated whatever. This is where you're gonna export it. Now go ahead, export zscript. This is gonna happen currently in the current version. It's gonna automatically set in the action editor the selected action to the animation that you exported last. We don't want that, so we're just gonna click unlink action. And it's gone now. Now if you go back to zscript, I'm just going to use my Mark 23 as an example. Go ahead, save copy as new deagle.cs and open it. Now I have a bunch of animations defined here already, but that doesn't really matter right now. You're going to change, or you're going to include the animation that you've made prior in the proper path. So this is your zscript file that gets exported by zsanimator. As you can see, there's a bunch of shit here. That doesn't really matter. What you're looking for is this thing. This is the class that you're going to be referencing when you start the animation. All this shit further doesn't really matter. You can just ignore this. So you have to make sure that all this data is correct, lines up with your animation as it is in Blender. So copy this, go to new deagle. I'm going to include this stuff real quick in my animation file or my zscript file, new deagle.cs. I'm going to, let's see, how's it? Comment this real quick, because this is really not important. Otherwise, it's just gonna mess itself up. New deagle, MC deagle. All of this shit, not important. This is purely for my own mod. So over here, I'm going to actually. Again, sorry about the unscriptedness and everything of this. I'm Klutz. So deagle. Just gonna import these or include these animations real quick. Otherwise, it won't work and it will crash and whatnot. We don't want that right now. Okay, so as I said here, deagle fire. Copy this name of the animation, and over here you have fire. This is my state that gets used to fire a weapon. Now, if you want to start using zsanimator and couple it into your weapons, you need to define the zsanimator class in your weapon class. So over here, I got zsanimator defined as a variable, and I have get animator as a function. If it doesn't exist, it will create the animator and then link it to the weapon. So this is the animator that gets used from there on to actually animate your weapons. So back to deagle, and I have here invoker get animator. This returns the animator, and then I have this function start animator. So what's important is that you pass the player info to this function and copy this frame animation name, so it's now zsanimator deagle fire. Playback speed is a thing that you can mess around with if you want, but that's not important right now. We're gonna build this file, see if it works. If it doesn't, And that's because I have a redefinition of something, so I'm just gonna comment on this whole thing. See if it works now. Again, sorry about the unscriptedness on my CLUDs. What am I looking at? Right. It's doing that. Just gonna... What do I do? I'm gonna comment on the grunts. This is not part of the tutorial, this is just me messing around trying to, or, well, tutorial, whatever, just an overview. It's not a tutorial, it's whatever, you know what I mean. Right. Probably should not have done this in my main file, whatever, it's okay, it doesn't really matter. Again, me messing around. Comment this out. Comment you out. Comment you. Anyway, the important thing is we got yes. Yeah, this is frustrating. Whatever. The important thing is we got the thingamajig out. The animation. So you know what? I'm just gonna not do this stuff. This is annoying. This is just frustrating. So undo all of this shit. Whatever. I'm just gonna change the Mark 23 right now to actually use our animations. So change this CS animation to Deagle Fire. Probably gonna crash again, but who cares? There we go. Yeah, whatever. It's because I accidentally redefined the Deagle. So here we go. Now it should work. Sorry about the mess. All right, here it is. So right now it can't find CS animation Deagle Fire. That's because I forgot again to include the animation file. This is important. So Mark 23, copy this, change it to Deagle Fire. Okay, there we go. For testing purposes, you have this playback speed variable. So as you can see, it is using our animation. It's not very good, but it gets the job done. So if we want to make a reload animation now, we can just repeat the whole process. Now I'm just going to make a real quick animation, show you how it's done. Set the frames to this one. Repeat the process of this stuff. But I'm going to do things a little bit differently now because we have the magazine. If I hide this, well, let me select the magazine. Okay, there we go. So in most cases, you want to not show the magazine until a certain thing happens. Like in this case, the magazine should only be shown when you actually reload the weapon. I need to see what my anime. Oh, it's not even in here yet. Let me just Deagle 8 DB. Set this to a sprite, copy these rotations, 302, 266. I will make a more detailed and more structured tutorial on how to do this stuff when I get around to it, but that's not going to be now. Okay, so we're going back to shading. Now we have the magazine selected. We have the MK23 mag material selected already. We're going to change this. Open image to Go back to your deagle. Set it to this. Deagle 8. Okay, there we go. And it should be, if we go back to animation, the Deagle magazine. Okay, that's cool. That's nice. That's what we need. Again, property is correct, or the scale. Let's see. Again, this is just going to be a quick animation. So do this again. Going to name this action reload. Push it down. And from here on, we can start animating the actual deagle. So I'm just going to do this real quick. This is already, the magazine is already, in my case, is parented to -2 layer. Set the scale, animate a little. Now, if you want to disable interpolation on certain frames, you can do that by setting it to linear. Now, I probably should have used constant for this, but it doesn't really matter right now. So the important thing is if you set it to constant, zscript animator will disable interpolation on the P sprites for these frames. So these are not interpolated. Now we go back to the magazine. Click on the magazine. Go down to viewport or object properties. Go to the visibility, disable, click on this once, and then show on the viewports should be off by default, and it is on the first, on the 0 frame, because that's what I use for reference. So now it gets hidden, and say we want to enable it here and go down to mark for free mag action, enable this. This is irrelevant, the name of this action, because it's only used for yourself when you're animating this process. So now I have the magazine visible. Go to continue animating this stuff a little bit. Magazine goes out. Weapon goes up. I'm just going to be lazy and continue from here. So it's a little bit at least of an animation. It's not much, but it just gets the job done. I'm not gonna touch the thing right now. Okay, so again, we set the duration of the frames to where we want it. We select the armature, go to pose mode, click on export, zscript animation, deagle reload. And right now it's deagle fire, change that to deagle reload. Set this to the action name that we made earlier. Click link sprites if you want the sprites to match the animation, and export zscript. Click that again. It's going to want it visible right now. Go to your weapon. Go to this. Copy this deagle and include the animation. Deagle reload. Now we go down here to my reload state. And we're going to set this to deagle reload. I'm going to comment this out real quick because I want to show the playback speed property. So you have start animation, CS deagle reload, that's all right, correct. So we're going to run it again. Yeah. Okay, so we have, there's our animation. Again, these sprites don't match right now because I'm not actually using the Desert Eagle, but I can change it real quick. onto all this stuff. So we know that the deagle animation takes 20 frames, so we're just gonna set this D A5 and do this. But we want to show the overlay, right? And to do that, I'm going to do a overlay with the animate or the layer that we used before, which in this case, in my animation file, the magazine is parented to the -2 bone. You can find the relations. Okay, no, whatever. The thing is, here's what you're looking for. This is the name of the bone. This relates to the P-sprite layer. So this is -2. So in this case, we're going to make an overlay with -2. And we're going to say deagle mag. Go down to here, deagle mag, and change this to db15, and then stop. So this is going to delete the P-sprite, show the deagle for. I need to make sure that I have this exported. So I'm just going to do that real quick. Yeah, okay. It's showing the. I accidentally forgot to go to ready. Deagle mag. Make sure these names are correct. And I want to make sure that actually my sprites are loaded in properly. So. Anyway, this is what's important. Again, you need to make sure that these offsets align. Yeah, the magazine does get loaded in, but the P-sprite doesn't actually appear. I probably forgot to. Yeah, okay, here it is. I forgot to set the reload. Export this again. Click on this.
Oh shit, look at this.
Something is fishy. I'm not sure what's going on. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. We can get our animations out of this program. We can change the playback speed. It's on. You can export stuff. It's all good. But this is what you need to do: set the overlay of a. In this case, the. Actually, is it actually? It should show up. Anyway, yeah, you can this. No, that's not the issue. You know what? I'm just gonna change it to -10 real quick. Change the name of this bone to like the bone that the magazine is parented to. Change it to -10. Why is that not moving? Okay, it is moving. Anyway, we just changed the name of the layer to -10. So I'm gonna have to export it again. Export zscript animation deagle reload, reload. Export that. Click on link, run it. You changed this already.
None of you motherfuckers can grip ass like this.
Well, at least the magazine is visible. But probably doing something wrong. You can see if you have the debug options enabled. You can see that at least the P-sprite is showing up because it's in the debug information right here. I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing wrong, but I'm probably doing something wrong. Anyway, yeah, this video sucks, but I hope at least I'm not the best person to make an impression like this. Let's be honest. I'm a programmer. I'm not a video editor. I'm not a video recorder. Whatever. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, fuck. I'm just gonna scrap this whole